Hey, how's it going there? Welcome to the Daily Space Weather. I just wanted to say that's an awful nice sun you got over there. Be a shame if it shut down, huh? So we're looking at that star. It's actually 48 hours of activity. And the word of the day is coronal hole. That's too much to write. All right, I'll write it. Coronal hole. You've got one here, one at both poles, and one down here in southern latitudes. And we've got a missing coronal hole wind stream. Where'd it go? Where did all those protons, where'd they come from? Where'd they go? By the way, I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho. We'll be talking about sudden cloud nucleation over the Gulf as well. And let's go see what's going on from the perspective of Lagrange point 5, which is out here where stereo A is located, by the way. And at Lagrange point 5, we don't see much going on, although there is a little bit of ejecta, not in an Earth-facing sort of an orientation, as well as Mercury moving out of the view of the coronagraph. Also, here's the LASCO C3. This is located not at Lagrange point 5, but at Lagrange point 1. Here you can see Venus. A little bit of ejecta out of the eastern limb here of the corona, and you can see Comet Erasmus. So great views to start out the year. 2021, the year of accountability. And boy, oh boy, that's an awful nice sun you got there. Be a shame if it shut down, huh? Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna be the De Niro or the Pacino of space weather over here. See what I'm saying? see what I mean? All right, just kidding, folks. I'm not broadcasting directly from hell today. So the radio flux is at 81 solar flux units. If you're wondering about the output of the outer corona in terms of radio frequency, as the sun is a radio star. And indeed, it's the strongest radio source in the sky. If you know the second strongest, leave us a comment. And there's a 1-year graph of the radio flux. And allow me to vanish. That's courtesy solon.info. And here's the showing of the proportionality of the sunspot number versus radio flux. And this wasn't discovered until about 1947 by some Canadians. The proportional relationship between the 10.7 centimeter radio flux and the sunspot number progression. But there you can see it. So here's this is a shorter, oh no, it's a 48 hour. And you can see sunspot 2794 as well as 2795, which has degraded to the point that it's barely or possibly not even a sunspot. And let's get to some more views here, as we've got some HelioViewer movies as always. We'll be going from zoomed way out to zoomed way in. There's a little closer setup. And here's an even closer setup. Those setting sunspot zones, as well as a bunch of filamentary dance going on there. Keep your eye on this region down here. And when I say ion, well, the pun is intentional. We're talking helium ions. So check it out. Some very interesting activity there, despite no coronal mass ejections. And this is a normal thing we see happen, folks, without any solar flares. It's the way that thing is known to behave. And we've got more great Helio viewer movies for you toward the end of the video. First, we'll do a little Smash Light segment. I'll have to reappear for the Smash Light segment, because here at the Smash News Network, sometimes I've got to appear on screen. If you don't follow me on Twitter, please do so. Twitter.com/SmashoMash. We've recently reached 120 followers. And shout out to Tony Heller and to, indeed, Bernie Sanders. Yes, it's fun tweeting. So welcome to the dimension of, oh no, wait, we're that's so last year. That's so 3 days ago. Hey, that's an awful nice Twitter you got there. Be a shame if it shut down, eh? All right, so what are the worst things that Mr. T would say to you? Here at the Smash News Network, we're very interested in what would frighten you the most if Mr. T would say it. So I've got an opinion on this, and I want to know yours. Please let us know at twitter.com/SmashoMash. Tell me if the worst thing Mr. T could possibly say to you would be, stole my van! Or would it be, slashed my tires? Or what about, you tricked me, sucker? Or what about, you broke my chain, fool, you broke my chain? So anyway, I've got an opinion. It's one of those choices. Let us know what you think. Twitter.com/SmashoMash. Get involved and let us know what would frighten you the most if Mr. T said them. And I won't keep saying it all year, but in any case, Happy New Year from Smash staff. And I, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash. May it be a delightful year of accountability. Speaking of accountability, let's talk to some guys who need to be accountable.
An ad telling New Yorkers it's safe to take the vaccine, to put us together. We're like the modern day De Niro.
We'll do an ad telling New Yorkers it's safe to take the vaccine.
You want, you could be the De Niro.
Put us together. We're like the modern day De Niro and Pacino. You can be whichever you want. You could be the De Niro or Pacino. Fauci and Cuomo. I'll give you a promo. Who do you want to be, De Niro or Pacino? Which one do you want to be?
Fauci doesn't want to hurt the feelings of the other. So, great job, guys. Great job. Oh, screw it. Let the place burn. You guys are doing a fine job. Yes, you Fauci and Cuomo, you're doing a fine job. Cheers. Just thank goodness taxpayer dollars and advertiser dollars are funneling into your pockets. You guys are as legit as it gets. And speaking of legit as it gets, it's what we call fraud. And when I say fraud, I mean intentional misrepresentation. Intentional misrepresentation such as we need to have 70 to 75% of the population vaccinated to reach herd immunity. And then changing your mind to we need 80 to 85% of the population vaccinated to reach herd immunity. Because of poll results, whether 50 or 60% of Americans would agree to take a vaccine. What say you? Leave us a comment. Thanks to our YouTube viewers, by the way. And I'm just citing facts once again. Those are not contested, by the way. That was an interview with the New York Times. Please press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. And share the content in your social media. Look for another live stream coming today, by the way. We'll probably do one after the YouTube premiere. We're also on BitChute. We'll be doing a 300 subscriber special there. Don't forget to visit our own websites. You'll see all of the links below the video and so on. Original music, the smAsho forum, the stores, etc. We're currently streaming live to Twitch at twitch.tv/SmashoMash. It's such a delightful streaming platform that it's just great. And did I think the gateway may have closed. All right, I've returned to corporeal viewable I've returned to a viewable status, yes. And let's continue on here. We don't want the video to be too long. But the Smash Light segment is indeed complete. Let's talk cosmology. Now, at the forum, which you can link to again at smAsho.com, if you go to the forum, there's a whole cosmology forum there, as well as one about memes. And once again, Happy New Year from Smash and staff. First, I'd like to thank our patrons before we get into more cosmology. Thanks, patrons, for being the true source of funding for the content. As we make just this side of zilch to create videos on YouTube. Please consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/smashamash, and let's talk cosmology. Now, stars, they're kind of important. And what is one of the most important behaviors of a star? Well, probably its rotational speed. I would say it's up there on the list of important attributes. Obviously, also things like diameter, brightness, heat, output, real motion, etc. Lots of factors in stars. How about rotationally variable stars? How about pulsars? How about the Crab pulsar? Are you familiar with it? Well, there's a composite image of the Crab Nebula. And here it is in gamma ray on the Fermi. You can link to all of this stuff. This is on the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory. You can link to it from there. There it is in gamma. Check it out in X-ray on the Chandra. Quite an interesting pulsar there. You can actually see the bit of the shape of the pulsar at the center of that Crab Nebula. Here it is on the 2MASS. The Crab Nebula. It's such a consistent source of X-rays that it is actually used to calibrate X-ray equipment. And I won't say anything else about that or roll dice. I would note that Cygnus X3, though, has entered into its X-ray loud state. And actually, just as we're doing the video here, it goes into a very loud state right there. So this is the 2-day X-ray output of X3. Here's the historic graph. And then you have the 30-day X-ray output down here. And you can see it's not there, down here. You can see it's actually recently gone into quite an interesting mode here, where we're getting these rather symmetrical X-ray flux at the high end. Perhaps an indication it's going to go into a more quiescent state again. But we also did see one very high energy transient right here. Actually, a high density transient. Anyway, there's the historic graph of Cygnus X3. And here's me getting scarce. And it's not because my brain was eroded by cosmology or by cosmic ray flux. It's because that's the end of the cosmology segment. We've got to move on, since it's a daily space weather video, to more current data. Heliospheric current sheet data. Anyway, there's a real-time solar wind. And where is that missing coronal hole wind stream? If we saw it, it was awfully weak. I won't get into the explanation of why it would be so misforecasted. I'll just continue on with looking at the density and the velocity, as there's not a lot to look at when it comes to the BT and the phi angle, which are the top two panes. So the current solar wind density is around 2.3 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 343 kilometers a second. That's pretty low. It's a background basically no solar wind. It's solar minimum conditions. And the KP index of measurement of global geomagnetism is at 0. Here is the weak pressure of the geospace. It's 4 hours of magnetosphere movie, I think. As we see no missing data today. And for that, we thank you. My voice is shattered. Here are the ground magnetic perturbations. These are changes in the Earth's B field. We'll show you some more stellar magnetic information momentarily. I apologize for that. All right, I'm back. And the proton flux is flatlined here over the past 3 days, as well as the X-ray flux. No significant flares here, nothing in a C class, and the likelihood of any solar flares has dropped. There still is some risk of coronal mass ejection. We'll keep you posted if we see anything. There's the 3-day chart of the magnetometer, and we're expecting to see some less than smooth graphs here in the next couple of days because of this. So we're in the South Pole current sheet. The South solar polar field is looking quite strong here, and we see some striations in the coronal plasma. You look at these zones in here, we see some variations in the directness of the magnetic field force lines to the corona, and that's going to show up as actually low readings. We're going to see low readings on the GOES magnetometer, so lower highs and lower lows. Anyway, here's the line of sight coronal hole plot. This shows you the South Pole coronal hole there. That's sort of the main feature on the solar disk right now. If you overlook the setting sunspot 2794. And there's just another view of the same thing. Here's a quick little view of the coronal magnetic field plot. And that's actually more data than we would prefer to show. Going all the way back to the 1210 or something like that. 1210, I think, is the first image. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. 12.8. So that's too much data. Let's look at a star chart. There's what's going on above my head when I made the video. I use in-the-sky.org. And we are not even donors. But if you're up before dawn, you may see the moon. You may see Venus rise before the sun. But not for long. So it's going to be a very bright Venus out there. Anyway, there's where things in the solar system are laid out. And I would note that the Earth, Sun, Jupiter, and Uranus and Mars are all in a Dorito-shaped triangle here. So this is pretty serious. Frito-Lay, again, could be teaming up with Moloch and various other entities to take over the solar system, perhaps even the galaxy or the universe. There's where things will be in a week as the Uranus-Earth-Jupiter triangle continues and Frito-Lay attempts to reach systemic superiority over the solar system. Next, we'll talk electrons. And let me just check the life of the stream here. And hey, stream, get a life, stream. So we're talking electrons. We don't see any charging hazards. Here's the 1-year chart of the electron flux. Here's the forecast, which is agreeing with me despite no coronal hole wind stream showing up. So maybe I was just off by a day in the timing, but there you go. We're showing a downtick forecasted for the electron flux. I will not argue with NOAA, although I've been right the last few times I have. Here is the 3-day chart of the electron flux. We're in a quite normal range here. Here's a visualization of the electrons on your ground station up to the GPS satellitation. And we see continued anomalies over North America and Antarctica. Here's just a diagram of the Van Allen belts. And what we're talking about is the fact that GPS satellites have to transmit a signal to you through these Van Allen belts, especially if you're on the equator at noontime. I hope that helps. Here's another diagram. It also shows you layers of the atmosphere and the ionosphere, such as the F layer, which is where the GOES 16 endeavors to make its measurements. Here's a visualization. We see a very charged up southern ionosphere. That is not normal by any stretch. Heavily charged up southern hemisphere there. Northern hemisphere not heavily discharged, but you can see these large blobs here of up to 10 megahertz. And it is summer in the southern hemisphere, but we don't really see any induction or anything like that. No kind of solar wind responsible for any of that. Must be chiefly magnetic. Next, look at the volcanoes. As rocks are blasted out of the earth, or are they pulled out of the earth? In any case, Klyuchevskoy is erupting. It's producing a 20,000-foot ash plume. Also on the Kamchatka Peninsula is Karimsky, which is also exploding. Blown into volcanic dust. It's producing a 16,000-foot ash plume of said volcanic ash. Dukono exploding, Popocatépetl exploding, Sangay exploding, and Sabancaya intermittent volcanic ash puffs are a reason to not attempt to pole vault all that stuff. Here's a perfect smoke ring from Etna. I would have liked to have seen that. This was not blown by the ghost of Eddie Van Halen. He was alive in 2013 when Etna blew this perfect smoke ring. Who knew? I didn't. I just found this out today. Cheers. Earthquakes have been light, and we're seeing a drought that goes on and on and on, and the Smash News Network wonders when we will see a large quake, because droughts in earthquakes typically end in earthquakes. So we don't see any major quakes here over the past 24. I'll let the list scroll. Deep quake under Chile at 4.6 magnitude. Deep quake under Argentina at a 4.5 magnitude. Shallow quake under Hawaii. Let's check the location of that one. It's at 1,700 meters above sea level, and this one is under the extreme west flank of Mauna Loa. Where the altitude is about 7,500 feet. That one occurred at about 3,500 feet above sea level. And another deep quake strikes western South America. Yeah, the largest we saw here was this 5.1. Oh, wait, that's an odd one. 5.1 in Russia also. Here's the location of this Russian quake. Located just east of the Caucasus Mountains. And let's look at jet streams. So here we are on nullschool.net. Looking at the jet streams of the eastern world. And we see some kinks over Australia. Hopefully nobody's getting murdered on a highway up here. We're hoping not. Next, looking at the western world's jet streams. Probably the best snapshot you could get if you had to see only one piece of data for the whole planet. The jet stream would tell you a lot about the weather. This is the 250 hectopascal winds. Let's take a look at the 10 hectopascal winds to see what's going on with the northern hemisphere. And we're seeing 2 co-rotating regions instead of only one. Is it the satanic face of hell? Is that what's going on? Oh my God, it's very scary. And watch this. You want to see something else scary? All right, let's get scared, folks. Are you ready? Are you ready to be scared and spooked? Hawaii was at the head of a 666 pyramid. It looks like it's broken up, thank goodness. Nope, it's still there. There it is. There's your 666 pyramid. Look, it's Lucifer's low pressure systems. See? There's a 6, there's 1, and there's another one, which makes Hawaii the location of the all-seeing eye. The eye of Moloch that will eat your babies. And prove that Hawaii is the root of all evil because of a series of low pressure systems in the thing or something of that nature. Case closed. If you're wondering what's going on with lightning, we saw some sudden lightning here in the Gulf. Check it out. Yowzers. If you're shrimping down there with Forrest Gump, there was some seriously concentrated lightning happening. Let's hope you weren't. We're going to show you the cloud nucleation, but check it out. There's still lightning in the Central Gulf. Please leave us a comment if you think it's because Godzilla is having a battle with Rabara. Wait, Rabara? Ghidorah? Mothra? Rodan. Rodan versus... Leave us a comment if you think it's because of Rodan versus Godzilla. Has Godzilla emerged from the Gulf of Mexico? I don't know, but here's what's going on in the Doppler. And Maine is getting blanketed. I decided to just bring up a temperature anomaly GIF animation here for once. So here you go. There you are on Tropical Tidbits. And I gotta say, the Northern Hemisphere is awfully hot in terms of temperature anomaly. You're looking at large areas there with like 25 degrees above normal, and that's in Celsius. Also some very cold zones, such as over North Central Asia and Northern Canada and Mexico and Southern South America. So that's interesting. I also wanted to note the snow for the Northern Hemisphere, which is right in the 30-year average. So yes, we're seeing some historic snowfall in places like western Texas, but for the Northern Hemisphere overall, and this goes out to you people who live in the mid-Atlantic states or any place in the Boston through Washington, D.C. corridor, The last 3 seasons, we saw 2 standard deviations above normal snowfall, where instead of being there in the middle, we saw the snow out here. 2 standard deviations above normal for 3 winters in a row. That's 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2019, and 2019 to 2020. All 3 of those seasons featured 2 standard deviations above normal snowfall. This year, we're back in the 30-year average. And granted, those 3 years would have moved the average a little bit. But as I forecasted last season, we would be closer to the average this year in 2020 to 2021. Have you noticed my forecasting is often quite precise? Speaking of forecasting, it looks like the European forecast did a fine job in Texas, as we have 11.3 inches of snow there as we speak. And let's continue on. We don't want the video to be too long. Here's the sudden cloud nucleation we're talking about in the Gulf. And that's produced a bunch of lightning. Let's take a close-up of that zone, as that's today's featured weather pornography. And we are streaming live, so just give me a moment here. There we go. And this is the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite 3.2 nanometer radiation map. And we're also going to show you that zone in water vapor. So here's the zoomed out version. And you can see sudden evaporative processes must be happening there, as the water vapor wasn't there, and then it was, which means part of the Gulf has evaporated to form those clouds. A great example of sudden cloud nucleation. Notice the way it's happening along a very straight line. And you get a very good 3-dimensional effect when viewing both of those videos. There's the cloud layer. Move that down a little bit. And it's about time for bonus features, which we do regularly here at the Smash News Network. Don't try to sell us subscribers, just share the content in your social media. Tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros about the channel. We've got hundreds and hundreds of daily space weather videos. We do it every day, and we look at all the data, so you don't have to. Bonus features today include the colorized magnetogram in ultra high res as sunspot 2794 sets and sunspot 2795 degrades. We see no sunspots coming, folks. One area of activity up there in the north, finally, an active zone in the north. Let's see if there's any umbre associated with it. First, we'll zoom in at 2794 and 2795. And 2795 continues to degrade. The chance of large solar flares continues to drop. There is still some significant possibility of coronal mass ejections. And it all has to do with a bunch of filaments in between the Earth and Sun. We don't see any other sunspot zones. We do see some helioviewer movies coming. So we already showed you the 304 angstroms, and you see a minor solar flare happening there. That's a B-class solar flare. and a bunch of filamentary dance moves. Here is the colorized magnetogram. As 2795 continues to degrade, 2794 remains stable as it sets. Here it is in 171 angstroms. And you can see all of those filamentary maneuvers happening down there in between the South Solar Polar Field region and sunspot 2795. And last but not least, we'll show you 94 angstroms close-up of those sunspots. 94 angstroms and 131 angstroms take 10 images per minute instead of only 2 like the rest of the wavelengths. Thanks for tuning in. It's about that time. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, even if the government drives you to do so. And if you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back, and that covidiousy absent from your plane of existence.